March 20th, 1995, Tokyo, 7:46 in the morning. A man in a gray suit boards a subway car at Ajikubo Station. He is carrying a plastic bag wrapped in newspaper. He finds a seat, places the bag on the floor, and stares straight ahead. This is the story of the deadliest domestic terror attack in Japanese history. This is how it unfolded. Tokyo's subway system is the busiest on the planet. On any given weekday morning, 3.9 billion individual journeys are made across its network every year. The trains run to the second. The platforms are clean. The system is a point of national pride. On March 20th, 1995, that system became a weapon. 5 men boarded 5 separate trains on 3 separate lines. Each carried between 900 milliliters and 1 liter of liquid sarin, one of the most lethal nerve agents ever synthesized. Exposure causes symptoms within seconds. A larger dose kills within minutes. The target was not random. The 3 lines chosen, the Chiyoda, the Hibiya, and the Marunouchi, all converged at a single point. Kasumigaseki Station, the administrative heart of the Japanese government. To understand why, you have to understand the man who ordered it. Shoko Asahara was born Chizuo Matsumoto in 1955. He was partially blind from birth. As a child, he used his one functioning eye to control the fully sighted boys around him at his school for the visually impaired. Teachers noted he was tender to some and brutal to others. He grew up learning that information was power and that perception could be manufactured. 20 years later, he became an acupuncturist. Then he opened a store selling Chinese herbal medicine. He discovered he had a talent for selling things that did not work. The Japanese authorities caught him. He was convicted of fraud, fined, and publicly shamed. That shame became the engine of everything that followed. In his darkest period, he meditated, studied Buddhist texts, practiced yoga, and began constructing his own theology. He combined karma, apocalyptic Christianity, and Hindu cosmology into a single system with one central claim. He was the chosen one, the Lamb of God, the last Buddha, the figure who would lead humanity through Armageddon into a new golden age. He renamed himself Shoko Asahara. The cult he founded was called Aum Shinrikyo, Supreme Truth. What made Aum different from other cults was who it recruited. Asahara did not go after the desperate or the uneducated. He went to the top universities in Japan. He held talks at Tokyo University, Kyoto University, Osaka University. He offered something the academic world could not, meaning, a sense of cosmic purpose, outfitted laboratories alongside enlightenment. His message was calibrated for people who felt alienated from a society that demanded conformity. He found them by the thousands. By the late 1980s, the organization had matured into something closer to a state. It had ministries. It had agencies. It had $1 billion in assets. Followers who became full members, called samurais, were required to renounce their families, their property, their names. They handed everything to Aum. In return, they received rank, purpose, and access to a man they believed was a living god. The line between punishment and training was deliberately blurred. Members were deprived of sleep. They were subjected to scalding water and freezing cold. They were told this was the removal of bad karma. They believed it. In September 1988, a member showed signs of mental illness during a ritual. They immersed him in ice water to calm him. He died. Asahara ordered the body burned and the ashes dropped in a lake. When a witness threatened to leave and talk, Asahara ordered him strangled. 5 members carried it out in a small tatami room. It was, Asahara explained, a compassionate act. By killing the man, they had cleansed him of his bad K. By the early 1990s, Aum had a functioning chemical weapons program. At their main laboratory, approximately 100 scientists worked with equipment worth upwards of $30 million. Seiichi Endo had dropped out of his graduate virology program at Kyoto University to join the cult. Masami Tsuchiya was a graduate student in organic physical chemistry. These were not amateurs. They synthesized tabun gas, mustard gas, hydrogen cyanide, phosgene, and soman. They tested sarin on a flock of sheep at their ranch in Australia. It worked. Asahara ordered Tsuchiya to produce 70 tons. In June 1994, they ran their first major Sarin attack. 2 Aum members drove into a parking lot 37 meters from an apartment building in Matsumoto. Inside were 3 lawyers who had been winning a real estate case against the cult. The men activated a machine that vaporized 30 liters of liquid sarin through fans mounted on the side of the vehicle. A slight breeze shifted the gas away from the lawyers. It drifted instead toward neighboring homes, entering through open windows and air conditioning units. 8 people died. Hundreds were injured. Not one of the intended targets was among them. The attack was never immediately linked to Aum. The police investigated a local resident instead. Asahara took this as confirmation that he could act without consequence. Then came the mistake. A chemical spill near their headquarters produced a foul odor. Police gathered soil samples. The samples contained compounds directly linked to sarin production. A newspaper reported the proximity to an Aum commune. Senior members panicked. They ordered the destruction of their chemical stores, built a false wall inside the lab, and decorated the hidden room to look like a prayer hall. The police found nothing actionable. They did not move. But Asahara had a source inside the investigation. A police informant leaked him a critical piece of information. A raid on the Aum headquarters was being planned. He had days. He called his senior weapons chief Hideo Murai and gave the order. The subway attack would happen in 2 days. His purpose was not ideology. It was distraction. If the police were overwhelmed with a mass casualty event, the raid would be delayed. The organization might survive. Murai had no sarin stockpile. The previous stores had been destroyed. He enlisted Endo and others. In 36 hours, they produced just over 10 liters, enough for 5 packages across 5 subway lines. A spraying device was too unpredictable. They kept it simple. Plastic bags, sharpened umbrella tips. At 3 o'clock in the morning on March 20th, the team rehearsed the attack using bags of water. Hayashi then gave each member a hypodermic needle preloaded with atropine sulfate, a sarin antidote, and told them to inject themselves immediately after puncturing their packages. Before rush hour, 5 cars set out to 5 different subway stations across the city. Ikuo Hayashi boarded the southwestbound Chiyoda line at Ajikubo. He rode for 3 stops, punctured his bag with his sharpened umbrella tip just before his final station, and exited. The train continued to Kasumigaseki. None of the passengers noticed anything at first. Then they began to cough. Then they could not breathe. 26-year-old Kyoka Izumi took a deep breath as the air filled her lungs. It froze in her chest. Pain spread through her. She did not understand what was happening. She thought she had been shot. By the time the train reached the next station, she was coughing violently. So was everyone around her. On the Hibiya line, physicist Toru Toyota rode 1 stop, punctured his bag, and left. All 900 milliliters of sarin leaked directly onto the floor of the first carriage. Passengers evacuated. The carriage was left empty. The train continued running for 3 more stops before it was finally pulled from service. On the Marunouchi line, Masato Yokoyama punctured his package, but only 1 bag was pierced. He cleaned his umbrella in a bathroom and returned to his waiting driver. Because the package was mostly intact, sarin released very slowly. The train completed a full return journey, more than an hour, before the package was finally discovered. On the other end of the Hibiya line, Yasuo Hayashi had volunteered to carry an extra package to prove his devotion to Asahara. The packages began leaking smell almost immediately. At the next stop, a passenger kicked the package onto the platform. The small station filled with gas. The train kept moving with a puddle of sarin still on the floor. Passenger hit the emergency button. The train was in a tunnel. It had to continue. 5 passengers collapsed on the platform at Tsukiji Station. Kenichi Hirose boarded the westbound Marunouchi line, punctured his bags, and exited. Both 900 milliliter packages released fully. 2 passengers collapsed before the train reached its next stop. A station attendant removed the package with his bare hands. He was hospitalized. The train continued. New passengers boarded at Ajikubo. The train ran in the opposite direction for 2 more stops before finally being pulled from service. The attack killed 13 people. It injured more than 6,000. When emergency services confirmed Sarin was the agent, Aum Shinrikyo was connected within hours. On March 22nd, police raided the headquarters and the Lotus villages. They found the infrastructure. They found the chemicals. They found the labs behind the false walls. Asahara was arrested in May, hiding in a concealed room, covered in his own filth. He and 12 other senior members were sentenced to death. They were executed in July 2018. Hideo Murai, the mastermind of the subway operation, was stabbed to death in public by a Yakuza member before he could stand trial. The attack could have been far worse. Under time pressure, Endo had produced sarin at roughly half the purity of the Matsumoto batch. The chemicals needed for full-strength production had been destroyed in the panic after the soil sample leak. If the raid had been delayed by even a few more weeks, the stockpile would have been rebuilt. But here is what does not close cleanly. Aum Shinrikyo was formally dissolved. Its assets were seized. Its leaders were executed. And then, in 2000, the organization reconstituted itself under a new name, Aleph. It is still active. Japanese authorities estimate it currently has over 1,500 members inside Japan and several thousand more across Russia and other countries. It is under ongoing surveillance. Former members have been arrested as recently as 2021 for recruiting activities near schools and universities. The sharpened umbrella is in a museum. The organization that wielded it is still operating. March 20th, 1995 did not end at Kasumigaseki.